Hey, welcome everyone. I'm super happy at least to see so many faces after like crazy parties yesterday evening, right? I'm sure that many of you were there at some partner party or your evening event. So thank you very much for joining us and to hear us about our story. As Eugene said, we came all the way from Germany to present you how we moved from working from hierarchy structures to circle structures. Yeah, circles, right? Yeah, that's what I'm wearing, like it's a symbol. Let me start introducing myself so you know who's speaking to you, and then we will get into our story, right? So my name is Rekha Priyesh. I'm from Accenture, Germany. I'm in Accenture for 5.5 years. But I've been in IT industry for about 15 years now in various roles, and currently my focus is mainly on Agile transformations and Atlassian practice. So I am co-leading the Atlassian practice within the DACH region. Along with me,
yes, Ulrike Rasch, Lou, you can call me. It's a German name, Ulrike, so sorry for that difficult name. I'm an Agile coach. I'm also, like Rekha, almost 6 years with Accenture, and in this unit, we're going to present you the transformation about. Internally, I supported our OKR implementation, our strategy formulation, and also communication stuff. But you will learn more about what we did just now, right?
Can you get the clicker?
Okay.
We are thinking of presenting our story in the form of 2 chapters, so it's easier for you to grasp. Our first chapter is mainly about how we did this transformation within our internal business unit, which is Accenture Business Agility within the DACH region. I probably keep mentioning ASG when internally in Accenture we say Austria, Swiss, and Germany, and not DACH. So in ASG, how we did this transformation, and then in the second chapter we start explaining you how this small experiment really scaled, and we wanted to bring it to our parent organization, which is filled with around 5,000 people. We start with the first story.
Yes,
Lou.
With the first chapter, and we took this chapter metaphor and book metaphor because this is a story not at its end. We know this is just one of many, many chapters, so please understand that this is an ongoing story. But yeah, let's kick off and start with where we started. 2017, there were 5 ambitious Agile coaches, and they were confronted with a problem which led to a question. And this question was, how do we leverage our Agile expertise to stay ahead of our competition while being part of a rather traditional and hierarchical consultancy? Yeah? And you might ask yourself, okay, why did this problem or this question come up exactly then? So please let me reiterate a little bit about the times. The last decade, this decade of 2010 to 2020, was quite important for enterprise agility and what we call today business agility. One reason was economic uncertainty. The economy all over the world was still recovering from 2007, 2008 financial crisis. We had new business models entering the market, increasing competition. And at the same time, it was the age of social media. Social media, like we know it today, raised and really brought customers to become more demanding, more informed. Everything became more transparent, spewing even more the competition among companies. And last but not least, technological disruption, right? The rise of the cloud, software as a service, and so on. At the same time, we had developments on the other side. Mike Cohn coined his word business agility, like nowadays we know it quite good, but the word itself, he coined it 2007 in an article. And 2011, Dean Leffingwell came up with the SAFe framework. So you kind of saw that the Agile community came up with more kind of complex frameworks to tackle the more complex environment we are getting in, right? And so behind this background, these 5 Agile coaches said, wait, we have to also come up with something. Yeah? We are not there, we are not happening. So what happens with us? The good thing is the leadership back in the days gave them the window of opportunity to try themselves out. Yeah? The leadership said, you know what, you guys are right, this is really a problem. Go ahead and design your agile practice. Come ahead, propose something. Yeah? And the first thing they did is, and I think that's very normal, right? They came up with a classical org chart. And they tried to map their ideas and how to do it into this classical org chart. By then, Rekha and me were already part of it, right? And up from here, we experienced this transformation. So I will change from them to we. While doing that and presenting that to other people, they noticed, wait a minute. We are trying to do something new, but using the old frameworks for it. So that's not going to help. We wanted to do it differently. Agility needs to nourish on a different ground, right? We wanted to have different structures. So after presenting it to several people, they said, okay, no, that's failed. That was our first try. After having this, we said, wait. What is really here the problem? Like, let's go a step back. We don't just want a unit and need an org chart. We need to understand what are our specific needs. So one of it was, and I already kind of insinuated it a bit, the lack of offerings. Yeah? We were not known for agile expertise. A huge consultancy doing huge deals, but we were not known for that, nor did the people come to us or the clients asking for it, right? We had no suitable offerings, for sure, yeah? And another problem, and this is a root cause why we did not also have these offerings, was the lack of collaboration. We had agile people, we had scrum masters, we had people who developed into agile experts, but they were widespread in silos. Yeah? So they are delivering client work and maybe putting an extra ad on Agile, but they were not together. They were not able to innovate, to drive the Agile movement within and for that at the client. Yeah? And that leads to the overall situation and recognition. We don't have a safe space to experiment and see, hey, this is working well, this is a great approach of ways of working, which we can then bring to the client. This was just not there. We had no identity, we had no common culture, right? The people were all over the place. So this led us to our design principles. We said, okay, whatever we do, we need to make sure these 4 columns or these 4 elements are respected. First of all, we want to be more flexible and market-oriented, right? I mean, it's kind of a buzzword, but in our case, it was really important. We were not the drivers. We were just at the end of the line when there was a client project. Okay, they want a little bit of agility or Scrum, and we sent one Scrum Master, right? We wanted to be able to go and react to the demand at the market with end-to-end transformation offerings. For that, we wanted to collaborate within our company based on objectives, not just being pulled into client work, but really like formulate together a goal and go for it together. To enable this, we needed to make work transparent because we don't want it to be a top-down thing, yeah? Where again, like in a consultancy, very often a manager goes and tells an analyst, okay, come on, come up with something. No, we wanted to show our community, the people, there is the work, do you have ideas? Put it in the board, or take whatever initiative from the board, work on it, kick it off, yeah? Like enable the people to take entrepreneurship by themselves. And for that, as you all know, we needed a new way of thinking about leadership. Yeah? Leadership needed to be understood from the leaders, but also from everyone else as a thing which is distributed, yeah? Which is enabling. Like everybody can be a leader, often also a buzzword, and we're still working on that, right? But that's a thing which was very, very important for us. So, and then at this point, Rekha, what did we do?
Yeah, what do all the Agile coaches do? I mean, they every day find a lot of challenges, so they resort to books, right? So we started to read, and we, of course, had many favorites. So there are new ways of organizing. So there was holacracy, sociocracy. Lean startup was big at that time. So we had our own opinions and ideas. So we started to come together and say, okay, how are we going to design this new organization? There was a lot of literature available, but maybe we cannot just take one framework and then put it on ourselves, because we are still trying to design a smaller organization within a bigger organization, and we had our framework. So we need to fit our ideas into this framework. So we wanted to just kind of pull and plug in into our world. So consulting organizations, you can imagine, I mean, you probably all know they look more like towards the left than the right. And our intention was really to design an organization which grows organically, transforms itself, and there is a kind of relentless improvement embedded into our work. So we are not agile coaches just going to the clients and then learn for ourselves and then training our clients or bringing this transformation to them. We wanted to also drink our own champagne and see how it feels when we are teaching to our clients what are the obstacles they will face, right? So we said, okay, let's just look at how we design this. And again, we don't want it to go the left way and say, okay, this is our organization structure. Everyone who are in our organization, already we were, I think, 30 agile coaches, so we were still small, but don't want it to say, these 30 people, this is how you organize. No, we thought, let's come up with some guardrails, and then we let people know, okay, how you will design this networks of smaller cells which are self-empowered to make the decision on their own. So we started to think about what should our guardrails be, and we started with purpose. So if we are starting to work in smaller groups, in smaller work package, and around the work package, if we want to organize ourselves, we need to have a clear purpose, why we are organizing in this way, what is that we are going to resolve, and not only identify a purpose, but also for each circle, maybe there has to be a sponsor who will also support you to go forward and then get the support needed from the parent organization, right? So identify a sponsor. And once you have a purpose and a sponsor, what would you do? So you are a group of 5 people, but we are not abandoning everything from what we learned from a hierarchical organization. It's not bad organizing in hierarchies. In some areas it works because it was very stable and clearly defined roles, right? So this is still important in terms of accountability. So who owns what kind of activities? So we defined, or we said that, okay, as a second component, we should focus on defining certain roles within this smaller group. And then, most importantly, we had to make sure that there is a clear decision-making structure, because we were going from that structure to the circle structure, especially that we don't wanted this delay in decision-making. The market was moving so fast, we had to make decisions, we had to go to our customers quickly, we had to be able to answer them by ourselves and not wait for our managers' approvals. So we wanted to distribute this decision-making process. And lastly, make it transparent. So you also probably heard in the keynote from James Cameron mentioning about this radical transparency. This is something new for us, right? So we don't wanted everyone to know everything. There is certain information which is always confidential, super confidential, and they are all tagged appropriately. You don't have excesses. We don't wanted that. So we said, if you're launching a circle, if you have your clear accountability and decision-making process, make it transparent to everyone so that they can buy into it. So even formation of these circles is not pushed by top-down, but it is more of a self-selection process. Yeah? So if you're interested in this idea, you subscribe to it, and then you start working within this circle. So these are the 4 components we kept in mind. And at that time, we were like 30, 40 people, as I said. We can't all be working on just one way or within one circle, right? So we wanted to distinguish what type of circles we want. And so we thought, okay, let's take again customer centricity into our mind and then look at what is our direct value chain. Who is talking to our customers? In a bigger consulting firm, as you can probably keep hearing this terminology, accounts, right? So we have like a lot of our clients and account relationship managers. So they are the directly working people with the clients, and then this is our direct value chain. Though we have our offerings internally within our business unit, we bring to our account managers, and then they are actually connecting us with our clients. So we said there has to be circles who are working very closely with these account managers, not only when we already sold something, but even before selling something. And then we wanted to also look at what is the indirect value chain. So if this person has to be enabled to go and talk to an account manager, what does this person need? They need to have everything in hand ready, our offerings, our assets, or whatever work we have already done, like our credentials, should be in handy. So there are indirect value chain. And below that also we need to keep this structure going. For 30, 40 people already there is a lot of work, like there needs to be someone who organizes them, someone who will ensure that the meetings are organized, and then we have a tool stack for that, and then we have communication mails going out. So we needed, even in this value chain within the center, which worked as our backbone, which will sustain this organization structure. And at the center of everything was our leadership. So they are giving vision and guidance, but they are not interrupting the flow, or they are not jumping into solve the things, but they let the circles to organize themselves and come up with the solutions. So this is how our pattern of circles and circles looked. And I will show you, probably it will be a little bit overwhelming. This was our first attempt, so please take a moment, and then, of course, we also have later 5 minutes to 10 minutes for questions. So this was our first result of our organization structure. So moving from hierarchical worlds to the circle world, so how it looked is basically all those things which I mentioned. So you had our leadership at the center who's providing guidance, and then we had our backbones, which are taking care of our marketing, recruiting, and administration work, etc. And then we had our offerings built around it, where there are people who are talking directly to our accounts and working more closely to the clients. So back then we were called Living Agility. So when we were small, it was in 2017, 18, and close to 19. But we don't want it to stop with that. We always thought, okay, we should really work on evolving this structure, because once you start working, you will start noticing there are so many obstacles, and then we are defeating our purpose of really moving from one organization to other organization structure if we are still having all those hurdles with us, right? So as all Agile coaches and Scrum Masters with all our clients, what do? We retrospect. We will find ways to adapt, right? So then we came up with I was too quick. So we came up with our second version. By then, we also has rebranded ourselves to Solutions IQ, and we said what changed in this version was we had too many circles in the first version, and we were growing from 40 people. Already at this time, we were 100. And how do we organize them in a more structured way, right? It was constantly challenged, like keeping the coordination around so many circles. So we came up with life cycles to group them in a way that there is some closer collaboration between them. So we identified those 5 life cycles which are important to sustain our business and keep our business growing. And then they are grouped, all these small circles are grouped within the life cycle, and then there is also some collaboration checkpoints where the life cycles meet, and if there are any challenges which could not be solved within the circles, then a bigger organization is working on these challenges, right? So this was quite easier to work in this way to improve also our communication structure. And then what happened? We were close to 2019, and pandemic hit. So we used to have a lot of regular meetings, face-to-face meetings, coming together and then finding like time to do some workshops. And let me please remind you, we were doing all of this beside our client work. We are a consulting organization, so we are consulting our clients. We are working with our clients with their challenges. So this was only like smaller amount of effort we were investing on this, but we wanted to consistently evolve it. So we were working, and then we did not have a chance to meet face to face, and we were not in offices anymore. And your client meetings are always almost going over the calendar, and you really wanted to be there for them also this time. So we wanted to make an effort to come up with a structure which will help us somehow to keep it further going and still have that community feeling. So the third version was where we also rebranded as Business Agility. So now we are called Accenture Business Agility.
We love rebranding, as you see.
Yes. We are 200 people, and we introduced this or made it more prominent. Here we thought of local hubs, but we were still not really using that strongly. And here we introduced kind of country leadership, as well as the local hubs became more prominent. And in these local hubs, what happened was, if you are actually in one city, then if you are working in like Munich, for example, where I come from, we were 4 or 5 people. So even during the pandemic, so we used to have either virtual calls, hub meetings, or now we also have physical meetings. So at least you sustain this community feeling and the connection to what you were doing and how you can sustain this new way of working, right? So it became kind of a habit for us to look at what is not working and then come up with new ideas to resolve these challenges. And from there, what we did was, okay, by this time, already we were thorough. So just to recap how what we went through in these 3 stages, we came up with kind of a circle implementation roadmap, which anyone can use to launch their circles and start slowly, go step by step into a different direction, from organizing themselves in more departmental way to go more towards circle way. And I'll give you an example. So when we started at the 2017 already, we embraced many of these principles. So we knew how to launch a circle, so we kind of explain to within our group of people, how do we work in our circle structure. And we wanted to try out for ourselves. So I launched a circle, which is Atlassian Circle, because wherever I went as an Agile coach, I was asked constantly also to support them to make the processes more tangible and help them with Jira. How can we see those, our reviews or our plannings clearly, or what are the reports? How do we really know if we are improving ourselves after every retrospective? So I started to support them also on the Atlassian tool stack. So we just thought, okay, let's just also try out for ourselves whether the roadmap works. So we took those steps. So we defined exactly what is our purpose, what do we want to do as part of this Atlassian circle. And we said, okay, let's just find out whether there is interest from also our leadership. And we did ask whether it makes sense for them, because Atlassian products offering was not existed at that time yet, right? So within Accenture, again, pockets of people were working on Atlassian area. However, we did not have a clear service offering towards the client side, what we could do with the Atlassian tool stack. So we said, okay, we launched it, we defined our purpose, we found a sponsor, and then how do we grow this circle? It was just me and maybe another, not maybe, but I know I had one partner who was interested in this idea. So we were 2 people. So we said, okay, let's just look at how we make it a little bit more visible. So we started to use our own tools for ourselves. So we took Confluence and then wrote down this is our vision, this is what we would like to do, and this is where we are meeting regularly. Do you want to join us? And then we went into our community meeting and presented this. Everyone liked it, and Jira and Confluence was rarely used by 30, 40 people by then, not so much internally. But then when we started to present this circle organization and what we are doing in one page, everyone liked it. So all our marketing and also training and our circles, like we created a template and we created more visibility for all the circles within Confluence. And then we moved into look at, okay, now how do we find people? Self-selection process. We communicated in the community meeting. Some people were interested. They came in and joined our meetings, asked like, okay, what we could do. We started with trainings. So basically, we were already super users of the tools, so we started to develop trainings for our clients, or we did multiple trainings before, so we enhanced it. So we started with training offerings. And we made also our work, internal work, visible over Jira, Kanban boards. And we started also to keep some time to evolve this structure, right? So not just organizing in this way, but we needed to evolve it further. So looked at using the roadmap for ourselves, and we use the tools like Confluence and Jira regularly to make this more tangible. We put everything on the Confluence and made it transparent. Again, radical transparency. It was not hidden, so anyone could see it and they could buy into the idea. So we have, as you can see, we are using Confluence extensively. It shows on the left-hand side. This is just for our business agility community. So we used it extensively also for training. So all our training material is stored there. Trainer guides are stored there. And our documentation, some of the pages are, of course, here also hidden because of the client conversations. However, it is still mostly accessible by the needed people. And we also used Jira extensively because it was easier if we put out there in a Kanban board, like what we want to do, then we are consulting, as I said, in consulting, you're working with your clients, but you needed time also to work on this stuff. So if you make it transparent, if someone has time, they will pull in the work. You don't have to push it, but we enforce this in a more easier way that, okay, you have time, then you kind of take it up from there. And then we also used calendars extensively. We created all the events here, and here a quick thing is that we had our trainers pulling the work from there. It's not that we had a trainer pool, but we don't have to say who will do the trainings. Yeah. And lastly, we also visualized our goals.
I think that's a very important point which you just mentioned. Like, there were no rules to who can sign up in the tickets to which work. So you basically could sign up also as a junior and say, wow, that sounds interesting. And later on, the circle lead or the sponsor, once this work has to be assigned, came to this group of people and really kind of talked to them through it. So that was awesome because it helped us to put aside a lot of the formality which usually works in consultancies internally. And yeah, one thing we also did is like formulate objective and key results. That was especially helpful on a scaled level, which we will soon come to.
Yep.
To quickly summarize this first chapter, we can go to the next.
I did.
Yeah, it's not working properly,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
we now have a community that's even the smaller community which we have today, but this was pre-pandemic. And this group of people, and this is really the first time we're telling this story, by the way, yeah? This group of people does assets together, develop them, present them to each other, yeah? Really test them, yeah? To understand, okay, what can we take from this and bring to the client? Where has something worked or not, and so on. This also leads to us developing our own expertise, which we can show at the market and come across like thought leaders in the expertise in the Agile world, right? Which we were lacking at the beginning. So Agile Amped is our podcast. It's internationally available on Spotify, yep. And it has really a lot of listeners. So if you want at some point, tune in. And finally, what Rekha already told, the Atlassian revenue stream she opened up, which is one of many examples.
Absolutely.
Right?
So yeah, so this these are our outcomes after we changed how we were working, because we were in pockets everywhere. It was a siloed organization, and now when we started to work together more in our circles, there was a psychological ownership on the things, and then we wanted to really see our idea come to life, and these are kind of smaller outcomes.
Definitely.
And at this time already we got attention from our parent organization. So we show this second chapter very briefly because it is a huge story. However, it is, for us, we wanted to narrate first how it started, right, Lou?
Exactly.
So we go into now the second chapter briefly to show how it scaled.
You may be interested in knowing that, and quickly the most important stuff. Of course, when you scale to today, we're 5,000 people. At that time, we were 3,000 when we started the scaling. You cannot do it as experimental as you might do it in a small group, for sure, right? So we needed to come up with a framework. Many intelligent people sat together and said, what do we have to touch, and how can we progress if we want to make this change stick? And let me just focus on the most important one. We wrote a manifesto where we explained why we changed, and we made it accessible to all of our employees, and we kept repeating the importance of it in every possibility. We formulated our own business strategy, so we did not say we just copy-paste the Accenture global strategy. We specify it even more for us, like what do we need to do here at this market with our people, with our clients, right? We formulated the objective and key results, which helped each and every employee to contribute to strategy. We are still undergoing also this endeavor, right? And in the terms of talent, which I think it's also very cool to know, before, more or less, everybody was called a consultant. That's it, yeah? And you had very generic career paths. So we sat together and we said, wait, what are we especially doing here in our 5,000 people, and how should our specific career path look like? And we really developed a catalog to give everyone an orientation, like that's where you are, that's where you should go to, and that's the other stuff you could do, yeah? That all we implemented with a change management plan with sprints all over the company, all over the organization. And one specific thing I want to focus on is the double linking. So every circle on a scaled level had a person who was also part of important other circles on a, let's say, more central level, yeah? And by that, they transported all the change and all the messaging into the circles, and also what was happening in the circles to, let's say, more central support circles.
So how did we make it stick? Because it's not just the 200 people we are talking about where we can just call a meeting like this in one room and then explain them what it is. We wanted to make it more connected and then proactively for people to pull in. So we developed content, which is like manifesto, and our branding was more on the space station and
our
the
own
cloud.
brand, right? This is the spaceship, and
yeah. So we had our event days, our technology day, where we really got the people in, and then we made it gamification way. So they were like really playing games and learning what our manifesto is about, and also learning about our stories. Really, we wanted the people to feel connected so that they will then embrace the structure on their own than just pushing it. So we created learning boards and let it for them to pull it. We invited a real astronaut who came and shared what it is to go beyond and think out of the box. So it made a lot of people impressed about it, and then they really connected with the story, and then they started to look at how we can also follow this circle structure in a bigger organization.
And that's how it looks today, yeah? It's the scaled version of it, yeah? And you see here, we have at the outer circle, we have all of the business circles which are organized around work. And that's the important key differentiator to a traditional hierarchy. Because you could say, oh wait, you just put a hierarchy into a circle. But no, the difference is that all of the circles around, they came up around work packages. So first it was analyzed what is important, what's going on at the market. Then it was asked, hey, is there someone passionate about that who wants to set up a circle? And then this came up. It was quite, or it is quite informal. There are no long approval processes. We just, for example, set up this Splunk business circle because somebody came up and said, hey, wait, we need a circle about that. There's a lot of going on, yeah? Or the no-code movement or low-code movement, yeah? So this is the difference, I would say. Like, they are not this long approval processes, right? And all of these circles, that's also important, are free in how fast they adopt these new ways of working. And nowadays, we have a lot of sub-brands and a lot of sub-communities. They came up with their own hoodies, with their own designs, with their own stuff, and it's great to see.
Yeah. So what was the outcome? So you probably, if you're Agile coaches, it feels for you like 12 Agile principles. No, but they were all our outcomes after implementing this over almost a year period of time. I will not also go through into all of them, maybe just to highlight a few that every circle, as Ulrike was mentioning, free to act and come up with their own stuff, and they feel connected with the purpose of how we organized and to support our clients in a faster way. And there was also change from management to leadership. So it was fluid leadership. So the circles don't have like one person as a lead. It is okay if next week, if I'm not like really working on this area, if everyone is informed, someone else take this hat and then say, I will take the communication role, and then I can communicate what is happening outside. So it was fluid leadership. And also the overall way of working changed because you can just walk to anyone and talk to them, not that, okay, it is that you need to take an appointment with a different department. So we developed offerings collaboratively.
Yeah. Now you understand why I did so many different things like OKR, strategy, and so on, because you can kind of pick where you're good at. That's really the cool stuff, right, Rekha?
We have our still journey going on, and it's not ended. However, we were, of course, this was recognized by internally and externally. So some of our colleagues even put our story on awards, and then we won the HR award as well as Greater Than award. And this is not a story which is ending anytime sooner. We want to continue, evolve it, and then we still, of course, as you scale, you will have more hurdles, and we have to pass it.
And again, a thank you to our founding members who kicked this off, but also an emphasis on how many people are driving this further. That's massive, and that's the only way it works, right?
Yep.
Thank you so much. We are open for questions, if you want.
Thanks. Yes, please.
That was fast. Hey.
I hear you.
Mic test. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Okay, well, thanks.
On the last slide, you mentioned one of the guiding principles as, actually, if you don't mind going back really quick.
You want me to go back?
Relative targets over top-down specification, which is something I really appreciate. But I'm wondering how you pursue that along with OKR at the same time, which can be more quantitative.
Yeah. Last part, what did he say?
How do you balance between relative targets, which seem more qualitative, versus OKRs, which is more quantitative a lot of times?
So we started 1.5 years ago with our OKR implementation, and I can tell you we can hold another full speech about how difficult that is. And I guess it was very appealing, especially to our leadership, because it first comes across very sexy, right? But once you start implementing, you also have your company KPIs, which are very kind of hard and not very visionary, but you have to deliver on them, yeah? And usually when you don't have time, or you have times like this ones right now where we have a lot of pressure, all of us in the tech industry, I guess, then you can feel like how OKRs and strategy goes into the back, and the hard KPI delivery is what's important. So to be honest, we don't have the perfect solution yet. We are really struggling with it, trying to implement the other with the one with the other, and it's a work in progress, to be honest.
And those are one of the hurdles I mentioned, which we are still figuring out, and it is on top of our table.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
There's another one. Maybe we should do a presentation on this topic as well. So
Yeah.
I have many people who would love to say something.
Hi.
Hi. I'm curious about how you dealt with resistance to change from people, and if this because I'm sure that it happened, and how this resistance influenced also your sponsors, how much, in a way that at a certain moment it could happen that you feel like, okay, people are not on board, and our sponsors are like, maybe we're not doing the right thing.
I could start and then maybe you can add.
Yeah.
It's really interesting question. However, how we started off is with a small business unit. So we had something to show for. And also we did not say you have to do it. We said, do you want to try it, right? So we let them choose whether they want to do it or not. And we had the empowerment for sure from our leadership. So they were, I think somehow, someone, at least one of them, have to stay their stand and then say, I am investing in this because I believe in this team, and let them experiment. And this happened with Johan Malinowski, was our leader at that time, the leader of technology, Accenture DACH region. He said, yeah, go ahead and then experiment and come up with your solution, and let's try to bring it to people. And that's when we did that community day, which I was showing before, where we got all the people to wow them, everyone who's attending, and they kind of bought into the idea.
Yeah.
So there were, I feel, at least with the visibility I had, less resistance. Rather, it is more of a choice given to the people. It was not mandatory that they really buy into it.
I mean, yeah, at the end, three things have to come together. One's people who want to drive this, then a leadership who enables it, and the environment who opens a window of opportunity in terms of it's needed, right? And I do remember that a long time, for example, we were struggling with a specific offering and somebody was burning for it, but the others couldn't see it, yeah? And this person could not really go far ahead with it or maybe create a circle around it. But then the market turned and all of a sudden this person was visible and could convince others to join and create this coalition of the willing, yeah? So it is a lot of, it's not that easy since this formal process is missing. It's really evolutionary, I would say, right?
Yep.
So basically, maybe the key for the ignition was that you have the possibility to have a sandbox where to experiment instead of trying to do it on some business critical stuff that would have caused a lot of pressure, etc., right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
You mentioned that, firstly, thank you for your presentation. You mentioned earlier that you don't have a complicated approval process. Is there any approval process that is carried out? And if so, or if not, how do you keep an eye on making sure that initiatives are not duplicated, especially in such a large organization as yours?
Super nice question.
And then the
I
last
can
part
take
of
it.
that question is, how do you make sure that you don't have, for lack of a better term, zombie circles that sort of exist in the ether, but
Yep.
somehow disappear in terms of support?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We looked at the time and we did not tell the story of how we also have some of the circles retire, you know? So when the purpose is met, we have a structure called living circles, so they only exist for a bit and then they can retire, so they have a specific objective, they are met, they can go. And also about the decision process, we tried multiple ways. So we had lions then hold their loins, right? Or we call it here Shark Tank, right? So we used to have every year at the beginning that you will have an idea, you can go and pitch it into a jury, and then there are circles selected based on certain criteria because we don't wanted redundancy as well. And we wanted to make it for a specific purpose. And then we made this or evolved this concept. We had parliaments, so we used to have a parliament where you pitched the circle. So every year we even changed that structure. So it is all came out from the teams, people who were organizing it. So we made this decision process also very transparent, so people know, okay, this is where it is decided, and we are actually following so-and-so criteria, so we avoid
And to
redundancy.
close this up, there is a certain peer pressure. If your circle is not like leading anywhere, so in case of you, you're not proposing, for example, assets or really methods, or you're doing good sales numbers, the people are going to go to another circle where this is working and going on. So it's really natural, but you have to be brave and make the first step, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Does it help?
I think we are
Yeah.
up, or should we continue?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot for the
Thanks
great
so much
question,
for your
and thanks for the
patience and to
opportunity.
listen to us. Thanks.